Welcome to Wesley Impact. I'm Keith Garner. I wonder if you'd be prepared to lay down your life for the sake of the gospel. I'm glad you're able to join us today, and I always look forward to spending time with you. We're in the middle of a special series where we look back at some of the more memorable conversations we've shared together over the years. I hope you enjoy reliving these conversations as much as I do sharing them with you. Over the past few weeks, we've spoken with many people, including Australian entertainer Deborah Byrne and American author Philip Yancey. And so it's so important that I'm able to share them with you today, because I'm going to be looking today at the life of Gladys Staines, the Gladys Staines story. You might remember when Gladys came and talked to us. She's a missionary whose husband and sons were murdered on the mission field in India. When her husband's killers were found guilty and sentenced, Gladys appeared in public saying she held no bitterness, but rather had forgiveness towards the killers. Since 2009, Gladys has gone on to establish a hospital in India where she continues to live with her daughter. In 2015, she was awarded the Mother Teresa Memorial Award for Social Justice, a remarkable story, and I'm looking forward to sharing that conversation with you once again. We'll be joined in the studio by the Wesley Impact Band, who will sing Always. I'm going to share some thoughts on Jesus healing the daughter of an outsider, demonstrating that God's love is for all. But first, let us look back at our work in Newcastle, north of Sydney, where we recently opened one of our community hubs. Let's take a look together.
Today we're launching Wesley Mission's commitment to the people of Newcastle, that Wesley Mission is here, we care about the people of Newcastle, and we are here for them. The Newcastle Hub is going to benefit the local people in so many ways. I think the most important thing is that it remains local, but also what you see now is going to be very different to what you see in 12 months' time. We're going to grow, we're going to become more energised, we're going to become much more local and part of the local scene, and through all of that work, create more and more opportunities for local people. A whole range of services are available already here in Newcastle, but what we're trying to create is a local meeting place, a local place of belonging for people who come through our door, much more than just coming in and receiving a service.
The approach that we're taking is a no wrong door approach, and the no wrong door approach means that we aim to assist a person no matter whether they contact us by phone, contact us by email, website, social media, or whether they walk through the front door. Our aim is to meet them where they're at and to start to address what their needs are and what their requirements are with an approach that is the services that are within Wesley Mission, within this building, as well as the broader Wesley Mission services, as well as a broader scope of services which are in the community, available in the local communities. So the idea is to be an end-to-end approach, so we don't just refer somebody and link them into a service, but we actually follow through and see what the outcome to that was, and we're aiming to get an outcome for everyone.
I am so excited about the next 12 months. It has taken a lot of work just to get here, but now we get to do the people stuff, and that's the really exciting part. We have a great team here on the ground, and I know that in 12 months' time this team's going to grow and develop. It's very different to anything that we've had in Newcastle before. In the past we have buildings all over the place in Newcastle. This refurbishment, it looks beautiful, it's modern, it brings people together. The open plan is going to make sure that we're all connected and in that way give better services to our clients. And I think it just builds a real sense of excitement in the team that this is a great place to work.
I'm most excited about the event that we've held here today and how that brings everything together. So it's been a really long and seems like a long and arduous journey to bring this whole thing together. Building works, marketing, you know, all of the programs and services that supported us in the background to bring it to fruition. Today was actually just the celebration of all of that. I just feel like we're just at our beginning and everything is possible. Everything is possible, so really, really excited.
If you would like to learn more about Wesley Mission, visit wesleymission.org.au. You can find help in our community services, connect with our church and congregations, discover a volunteer role that suits you, stay up to date on the latest news and information, donate to support our work, and help make a positive difference in your community. You can also connect with us on social media and subscribe to receive the latest news and information about Wesley Mission directly into your inbox. Visit wesleymission.org.au.
Don't hesitate to be in touch if you'd like to find out more about our work, and contact us in the usual way, and the details are on the screen now. I mentioned earlier that I was looking forward to looking back to 2009 when Gladys Staines appeared on our programme. Gladys is a remarkable person who's been recognised for her tireless missionary work throughout India. The story of her husband and sons being burnt alive in India has been well documented in a book and is now known by many. Recently, there was a new film produced called The Least of These, the Graham Staines story, starring American actor Alec Baldwin. The film tells the story of the mission work that Graham and Gladys carried out at a leprosy hospital in India, where she was suspected of converting the locals to Christianity. Here now is Gladys Staines from 2009.
In India, Graham and I were mostly involved in leprosy work. That means caring for persons affected by leprosy, giving them treatment, and trying to keep them occupied with occupational therapy. We had 3 children, and I was mostly caring for them and homeschooling them, housewife, mother, and also we had a number of people come in from the villages who would attend to the local doctor, and often they would come to our house and stay for 3 or 4 days because it was too far for them to go back to their own village. We used to also go out and visit the churches as we had time, but majority of the time in the 20 years I was there, majority of the time was taken up in the caring for those persons affected by leprosy. We also had a rehabilitation farm with about 30 residents, so totally we had about 100 or more people under our care. On the 23rd of January 1999, my husband and sons had actually gone out to a jungle camp. Now, a jungle camp is actually like a Christian convention of 4 days of meetings for the Christians particularly. Just a chance for them to have some Bible study, some fellowship, and get together, a bit of fun together also. We all like to do those things. This camp was held every year and was one of a series of 6 camps that were held in different places throughout the 2 months of the dry season when the rice harvest was finished, when people had a bit of time. And so they were out at this camp, which was 160 kilometres from where we were living in Barryporter. And during the night, some people decided that they didn't like what the Christians were doing, and I guess they targeted the family, thinking that we were probably the cause of everyone becoming Christians. But of course, God is the one who brings people to Himself. We can't forcibly convert anybody. So that's what they were doing at the camp, and they normally slept in the vehicle. Like a long jeep, and they loved it. And being father and son, the boys just loved being with their father, and they'd been up for a walk and collected rocks and all sorts of things. We're just really enjoying themselves. And so on that night of the 23rd of January, which was halfway through the camp, a mob of people came in about just after 12 with torches and sticks and beat the vehicle and then set the vehicles on fire. I believe they had actually tried to escape, but it was not possible. The rest of the campers were really afraid. As you can imagine, there's no electricity It was new moon, so you know, the dead of night, dark as anything, a mob of people. You know, I think most people would be frightened, and so they ran away. Those who did want to come out of their houses and to help, they found their houses had been bolted from the outside.
I heard noises. When I got up, I heard the screams of a child. I tried to come out of the house myself, but 3 people at my door said they would kill me if I did.
So that apparently they couldn't escape, so they died. It appears that it was a planned attack. They planned to go and disturb the Christians, is what we heard. There has been one person that's been called the main accused, and initially he was given the death sentence, which was commuted to life imprisonment. When I think back on it, I said to Esther, actually it was only within a few hours of them actually being killed that day, and it was probably a couple of hours after about 4 hours after I'd heard the initial news that the jeeps had been burnt, though I didn't know what had happened to the family. Esther said to me, "Mummy, what is the news?" And she was 13 at the time. And I said, "It seems like we've been left alone." And that was sort of how I broke the news to her. But we will forgive. I think I said, "Won't we?" And she said, "Yes, Mummy, we will." And so again, those words at that time, "I will forgive," I think started a healing process in my own life, because if we forgive, we can't allow bitterness to come in. I survived the pain that followed the deaths of my 3 family members, only by God's grace, I say. Initially I probably, like, you go into shock, you go into disbelief. But God really enabled me to, that didn't happen to start with, in a sense. It did, but it didn't. But I do remember sometime later when all the crowds had died down and there weren't so many people around, I remember just absolutely weeping to the very depths of my heart, where, you know, it was like my whole being was coming out. I think the journey of forgiveness is an ongoing journey in a sense. It's certainly when I forgave the very first, in the very first instance, I guess you could say, I believe that set me on a longer journey. The words I forgive were like starting a healing process. And ever since that time, I've had a picture in my mind of, like 2 pictures really, but a picture, you know, when it's dry and barren and a drought. You have dry, parched, cracked land, which we have in few places in Australia at the moment. And then when it rains, that's like the land receives healing, and all the cracks heal up and it bursts into, you know, freshness and flowers and grass.
So what is it? This is Graham here and Timothy here.
So even though Exodus says an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth, Jesus said in his teaching, he said, though it is written, which means it's referring back to the Old Testament, an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. I say, but love your enemies, do good to those who hate you, bless those who persecute you. And you know, in Romans it says, Romans chapter 12, it says, bless those who persecute you, and seek to live in harmony with one another. By forgiving the killers, I've been able to, it's been a release to me in a healthy experience, in the sense that I'm not harbouring bitterness, and I'm able to move on in life in a sense, but I'm not having to constantly think about those people who killed my husband and what's happening to them, and are they being, you know, given justice. because again, because I know that God has his ways and will deal with them, but I also pray that they will know God's forgiveness in their own lives. So in that way, it's been a release to me to be able to forgive.
I enjoyed meeting and the conversation with Gladys Staines, and I hope you did too. Since then, she has continued to serve God in India, despite losing her husband and sons. This becomes a story, a marked Australian story of forgiveness and grace. I think it will always stand stead in terms of Christian discipleship and witness. Please welcome now Craig Gower, Deb Ezzy-Walton and the Wesley Impact Band to sing a song that seems to be so appropriate to that Gladys Staines interview. It's a song with just one word, but it's such a powerful word about the embrace of God for all. It's called Always.
You meet me on the mountaintop. You see me in the valley low. There is no home without you here. I find you in the crowded thoughts. You quiet all the question marks. There is no space your love won't fill. I'll trade all my fear for peace of mind. All my heaviness for burdens light, and this will be my song. You are always good. I'll sing it all day long. You are always good, and when the day's through, I am left with you. Are always you. Are always good. I set my eyes on perfect faith. You finish what you started me. My heart will be an offering. Every melody you're singing back to me, you're singing back. Every melody you're singing back to me, you're singing back. Every melody you're singing back to me, you're singing back. Every melody you're singing back to me, you're singing back. Traded all my fear for peace of mind. You took heaviness, my burdens light, and this will be my song. You are always good. I'll sing it all day long. You are always good, and when the day is through, I am left with you. Are always you. Are always you.
As I continue my journey through Matthew's Gospel, we reach a very significant passage which speaks of a remarkable healing of a Canaanite woman's daughter, showing that the Gospel is for all. Let me read that account in chapter 15, verses 21 through to 28. Leaving that place, Jesus withdrew to the region of Tyre and Sidon. A Canaanite woman from that vicinity came to him crying out, "Lord, Son of David, have mercy on me. My daughter is demon-possessed and suffering terribly." Jesus did not answer a word. So his disciples came to him and urged him, "Send her away, for she keeps crying out after us." He answered, "I was sent only to the lost sheep of Israel." The woman came and knelt before him. "Lord, help me," she said. He replied, "It's not right to take the children's bread and toss it to the dogs." "Yes, it is, Lord," she said. "Even the dogs eat the crumbs that fall from their master's table." Then Jesus said to her, "Woman, you have great faith. Your request is granted." And her daughter was healed at that moment. This is such an important account. But to understand it, we must put it into the context. For in the previous 20 verses, Jewish people had been criticizing Jesus. However, now we're introduced to a Canaanite woman who Jesus welcomes. This would have scandalized Jewish thinking and some that read these words for the first time. The deliberate contrast appears to be made. In verse 23, we read the fact that the point seems to be that the disciples shared a harsh view that the Messiah had only come for them and their people. In his comments on this account, Stephen Dre points to two ways of understanding the disciples' words. Send her away. I mean, when I read those words, send her away, they feel so harsh. However, he heads the section, a world faith. The Canaanite woman is not only persistent, but she also lacks pretension. Her questions that she asks and the way in which she seeks help are the kind of thing that raise questions in our own minds and certainly question our own attitudes. Are there people we think that are beyond the reach of Jesus? He describes the woman who knelt before him as having great faith. You could even think as you read this passage that Jesus is being persuaded. Maybe what is happening is we're being exposed to that important truth that the disciples had to discover for themselves, and they had to embrace the life of the Christian community as times went by. And that is that the good news, the reach of God, is to all people. And all down the years, Christians have had to discover that in their different contexts, sometimes as missionaries, as we've heard, sometimes in the context of preaching with people who are outside of the normal realm of the Christian community. Maybe there needs to be a reminder. I think somebody once wrote something about this particular passage and said there should be a statue of this woman at the door of every church, suggesting that really what we read about here is an indication of the reach of the gospel to the Gentiles, to the people who are outside the realm and capture of the normal Christian community. Harry Emerson Fosdick was a great North American preacher and writer. And he wrote about the difference between fear and faith. Fear, he said, imprisons. Faith liberates. Fear paralyzes. Faith empowers. Fear disheartens. Faith encourages. Fear sickens. Faith heals. We've lived through some times when people's lives have been caught up in fear all across the world. We need to be reminded that fear is not the end of the game. It's not the last word on situations, but faith can open up new opportunities, new possibilities when we embrace faith, just as this woman did here. It would have been a shock to the disciples, but Jesus acknowledges something very real as this woman comes to him and gains his help. Woman, you have great faith. She's a woman. She's from outside the camp, if you like, and yet she demonstrates faith. And to her, he says, your request is granted. He's always ready to grant the requests of those who embrace this truth in their own lives.
If you would like to contact Keith and find out more about today's program, write to us at Wesley Mission, Post Office Box A 5555, Sydney South 1235, or you can send us an email to impacttv@wesleymission.org.au. On our website, you can catch up on past episodes of Wesley Impact, find out more about our work, read online magazines and articles, and connect with us on social media. You can also connect through Keith's blog and stay up to date on all the latest news and information from Wesley Mission, wesleymission.org.au.
I'm glad you were able to join us today. I hope you enjoyed the conversation with Gladys Staines from 2009 and found it not only inspiring but insightful to see how one person is able to rely on her Christian faith to share forgiveness and love with others. Do contact us, as I offer every week, if there's any way in which we can help you. The contact details are on the screen now. I always look forward to hearing from you as we continue this special series. We'll be here at the same time next week, and God bless you in every way possible.
Wesley Mission walks alongside people of all ages struggling with homelessness, addictions, mental health issues and financial stress. To find out more, visit wesleymission.org.au.